There it is.
Oh, wow. That one was slow.
Well. Ladies and gentlemen, it is SHIT. So happy it's Thursday, and we're ready to rock and roll. So here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
The Business Bros Podcast was created for you. Learn from the business professionals who come to share their stories. Find out what's working in business and social media, what's hot and what's not, straight from the mouths of successful entrepreneurs out there doing the real work. And now, welcome to another episode of
Business Bros.
Fire time.
You know what time it is. Is it just me, or is it getting warmer again in San Diego? It actually, I know we were just talking about it before the show, but the heat wave really is back, especially right here on the Business Bros Pod. Our guest today is passionate about all things entrepreneurial, having built multiple businesses himself. Our guest has not only built his own successful business, his focus now is in helping other businesses of all stages and sizes to build remote development teams quickly and affordably. Our guest has taken what he's learned in business and written 2 best-selling books and is now the host of one of the top 100 podcasts on iTunes. We are just brimming with excitement for the opportunity to learn from one of the industry's bests. So without further ado, joining us from Fullscale.io, the author of The $1 Million Bedroom and Balance Me, A Realist Guide to a Successful Life. Give a warm welcome to the host of the Startup Hustle podcast, Matt DeCoursey.
Woo! What up, Matt?
Man, I can't believe we got 15,000 people into the studio to applaud for me. I mean, you guys are, I should be introducing you two. It's impressive. And I need to obviously get my marketing team to get their shit together because I've written 3 books, not 2, but that's okay.
Oh,
yeah, I know.
What can you say, man? You got to believe everything that's on the internet, right? That's how it works.
That's right.
Is that where that sheet came from?
That's what we do research.
I'm going to take notes. Update the internet.
Update the internet.
Yeah.
Come on, internet.
Yeah.
Failing
Come
me.
on, internet.
Dude, I almost had you.
Almost. We were close. All right,
Just
Matt.
missed.
Startup
But 3
Hustle.
books. That's awesome.
Startup Hustle podcast and 3 books. We're at episode 552. We just launched our second podcast called The Carrier Experience, and people always ask me the same question that I'm about to ask you. How the hell do you do it? Where do you find the time?
Oh, wow. I don't on a lot of days. I mean, that's the whole thing. You ask, what do you do? Well, first off, I'm completely unemployable because I'm an entrepreneur and I have been for so long. So, I got to hustle. I got to do a lot of stuff and I got to do a lot of different things. But I mean, honestly, I don't always find the time and the energy to do it. You try to kind of spin the plates and put out the fires when and where you need to. And I'm 45 years old at this point. So I've learned to do the stuff that is that's the biggest priority, the biggest fire, or creates the biggest profit first.
That's a targeted idea there, right? There's a lot of people who get into business and they have the concept of profit when they first get started, but then they start getting into the nitty gritty of operations and we get lost in a lot of things, creating a brand, creating a logo, creating a website, creating, what should the colors of my desk.
Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
And that's what ends up happening. You get either entertained or distracted, really is what happens. And you lose focus on the one thing you were supposed to do, which is be of service to others and or make a profit. One of those 2 things, because those 2 things lead to that profitability standpoint. And the fact that you said, I'm busy every day because I'm focused on that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Right?
And, I have entrepreneurial ADD, which is, what kind of describes what's going on there. And you got to learn to not always chase the shiny things. And then, there's another thing that I've really learned over the years is you got to learn to be good at one thing before you try to be good at 6. And I think that, that's advice. I spent a lot of time talking to startup founders and different business people that do different stuff. And that's probably the most common error that I notice when I talk to other people. And it's easy to want to do a lot of stuff and get caught in the muck and the mire of starting and running a business. And I think the key is finding people that can help you, especially ones that want to do the stuff that you don't like, you're not good at, or aren't of the greatest value to the company's, efforts and outcome that your own input would create. And, for example, the current company I'm with right now, Full Scale, and we started it just a little over 2 years ago. We've already have 200 employees. And
nice.
It's just, yes and no, because, you can go out of business and you can grow out of business, and they both happen, and, that can happen really quickly in both directions. So, sometimes you're trying to keep the sky from falling, and other times you're trying to hang on to the rocket, while it's going to the moon, and falling off either direction is not great. So yeah, we've had to learn a lot, and I've had to learn a lot. Now I've been down that road before. You mentioned one of the books that I wrote, $1 Million Bedroom. I actually in 2009 started a business in the extra bedroom of my home, and had nothing but it had just come out of a divorce, the housing bubble, and I went back to school as an adult. So that's a perfect time to start a new business, right? Yeah. And if I had that time machine that I just saw on the screen with Bill and Ted, I'd go back and tell myself, maybe this is going to be harder than you think it is. So, we figured out a lot of stuff, and But
would you change it though, even if it was hard?
No, but it's funny because, I really do a lot of advisory stuff for different startups, and here in the Kansas City scene, we're here in the 25th biggest market in the US, and there's a huge startup scene here. And I spend a lot of time talking to anybody in startups, and I make myself available to give a lot of advice. And along the way, I tell my own story, and I say, I never, ever thought that if I had to give myself advice on that first business, I would have said run. So I feel like there's about a 1 in 100 million chance that worked out. But that led to everything that we do today. I hired my first employees in the Philippines as a part of that company, and some of them still work for me now. We did a lot of different stuff and a lot of really wild things that, in 2009 you could do in e-commerce that were a little easier to get away with, and suffered some Google penalties and some different things along the way that were fun and interesting. But you asked, would I go back and change that? No, because I learned a lot. I learned a lot about what not to do, and how shortcuts often get real painful for you later in some regards. And I think the thing I learned the most is that success demands payment in advance. There's really no way around that. Like, you got to put in the time, you got to do the work. You don't just, I've talked to so many people that say, they're like, I'm an overnight success, 8 years in the making.
Yeah. Making, that's the key, right?
Yeah.
There.
Or something like that. And really the thing, and in my book, Balance Me, that success demands payment in advance line was kind of the thesis of the whole thing. I've yet to prove that theory wrong. So yeah, everyone kind of pays it, and they say, oh, well, what about the lucky person? And I don't believe in luck either. Luck's preparation and opportunity crossing paths. And, so much, well, what about the person that bought the lottery ticket and won? Weren't they lucky? No, they prepared by buying the lottery ticket. I'm not going to win the lottery tonight, guys, because I'm not prepared. I didn't buy a ticket. And, it's just, there's so much of that I don't know. There's you got to, regardless of what type of business you want to do or what you're pursuing, the success demanding payment in advance rule. Like, if you've got a example of where that wasn't the case, I'd love to see it, because I've been looking for one for about 10 years.
Well, speaking of buying the ticket, right? So you're talking about being prepared, and you've spoken to a lot of startup people. Hence the Startup Hustle podcast. What should they be preparing for? Because there's so many different aspects of business, and each person that you talk to might have a different skill. One of them might be very good at, talking to clients. One of them might be really good at recruiting agents, which is one of the things that we're looking for personally right now in our insurance company, a recruiter, right? Or recruiters. Everybody has different skill sets. How do you really narrow down which one it is that they should be focused on? How do they prepare? How do they buy that ticket?
Well, I think it starts with doing things you're passionate about. And, and so a long time ago, my now ex-wife, I've had 2 wives named Jill. There's the Matt DeCoursey fact of the episode. Yeah. So the first wife named Jill thought I was working too hard.
I'm thinking of Ron Swanson.
Yeah, Tammy and Tammy, kind of.
Tammy
the first one was a little crazier. The second one got it right. I got it right. By the way, what have I learned over the years? That I'm better at marriage the second try. So there's another life hack for you. Get one out of the way, and then find the practice, and then
Why do we fall, Bruce? So we can learn to pick ourselves up.
Correct. That is very correct there. So the first wife wanted me to do something, like, she's like, you work too much, you need a hobby. So I tried to find something I was passionate about, and I kept coming back to the fact that I'm really passionate about making money. So I decided making money was going to be my hobby, and I have not worked a single day since I made that decision. And that, honestly, and I believe that. I really do believe that, and it helps me get through a lot of stuff. So if you line yourself up, or your employees, or whomever, whether it's someone you're recruiting, someone that you work with, or yourself, if you're doing things that you're passionate about, it just, like, you become very waterproof, when it comes to the shit that rains down on you as a business owner. I can say shit on this podcast, right? Because I already said it.
You just did. Look, it's literally.
I figured it was so happy it's Thursday, so I'm trying to stay on brand here. But if you can find someone that's passionate about whatever you're doing, or like for you guys at your insurance agency, if you find people that are truly passionate about sales, they're going to probably be good at sales. If you find people that are passionate at organizing or marketing or these different things, and that's really what they love doing, not just what they say they love doing, then it makes the no's and the tough side of things really a lot more. You can absorb it a lot more. And so at Full Scale, that's what we do. We try to find high talent software developers, and then we want to pair them up with North American companies. So our employees are in the Philippines, and because there's a huge shortage of programmers in the US. I don't know if you know that. There are over 400,000 open IT jobs that we don't have the people to fill. So that's, and here's the thing is, if businesses don't have the resources or access to the resources, or they can't afford the resources they need to be successful, then they go out of business.
Yeah.
And but we try to pair people up there that are passionate with the tech stack that they work with. And if we pair them up with, a company that's passionate about what they do, we find that it's just a super match. It really goes really well. So I really just think passion's the key.
So 200 employees in Full Scale. It's grown in the last 2 years. I mean, a huge amount. What do you attribute the growth to? Like, is there a specific formula or pattern that you're doing to grow your business? Some magic pill that you follow a recipe to a T and it seems to work out, or should I go back to the dumb luck example?
No, it's definitely not dumb luck. I mean, so much of it. So we say that our and I have a business partner. His name's also Matt. So we have Matt, Jill. You see where I'm going with this. But so my business partner's a pretty unique dude. He sold his first software company for $150 million when he was 29. That's a good.
That deserved a damn.
Yeah, exactly. I do that all the time. But and he's a programmer. I tell people I don't write code, I write checks.
Nice.
So we've made a really good combo because we have an angle. We've both done. And most startups that do tech, a lot of them have a non-technical founder and they have a technical founder, like someone it's like Batman and Robin, and we use Jordan and Pippin as an example. And you got to find a partner that you got to not care if you're Jordan or Pippin. You can't be like, dude, I'm Jordan every time. Like, get out of the way. Throw the ball up near the rim, Scotty. That's not how it works. So you got to have BJ Armstrong and Dennis Rodman and a couple other people in there too. They don't hurt. But as far as the recipe of success, we really just built our company around the things that we felt we needed as tech founders ourselves. So we stripped away a lot of the BS and we actually simplified the whole process. Like a lot of companies that we compete with, they have all these layers of management and stuff like that. And look, if you're a founder and you have a vision, we're not providing you any value by trying to be the conduit for communicating that to the people that help you build your tech. Like we're actually like, it's like that telephone game you played in elementary school where you tell the story all the way down the line. It's like, we don't bring any value. So instead we took a different angle and tried to really just help our clients or prospective clients get what they needed. We like to say we're client obsessed. So we are obsessed with our client's success, because if we aren't and they're not successful, they are not going to stick around. So that's been a lot of what we need to do. So, you know, man. And yeah.
We got a listener question. So can you talk a bit about what your thoughts are about startups, entrepreneurs, and those working gigs? Do you think they're the same, or are they all a little bit different? If so, how?
Well, that's a good question. So, you know, we've actually done episodes on the Startup Hustle podcast about like, what is an entrepreneur? Because some people want to say that someone that opens a Subway isn't an entrepreneur. That's not true. A startup is a business that doesn't come with an owner's manual. And that's the key. So now you can be an entrepreneur as a startup founder, as a franchise owner, or as a gig economist, right? So people driving Uber, they got hustle, dude. Those are entrepreneurs. They're out there, they're taking it. If you are trying to do it on your own, you're an entrepreneur. If you wake up every day and you rely on you to get it done, you're an entrepreneur. Like in your insurance agency, like your sales guys on some level or gals are entrepreneurs if they get paid commission. Yep. So, you know, there's a, how do you separate it? Like I said, a startup. Well, and by the way, you're not a startup when the name of your startup becomes a verb. So like Uber, like they still call Uber a startup. I'm like, it's a publicly traded company. I Ubered here. Like that's a verb. You cannot be a startup anymore when you're a verb. But yeah, startup doesn't come with an owner's manual. And that's why, but that's also why the high end and the high ceiling of its exit value. And that's why you can make so much money, because you got to get that shit figured out, and then people want to do it. An entrepreneur is, like I said, in my opinion, in my definition, someone that just wakes up and they hustle every day. And that, I mean, you're an entrepreneur if you sell oranges at a corner, at a stoplight, or a lot of other things. You're an entrepreneur if you're driving Uber. You're doing all these different things. And I mean, that's my definition of it.
Do or do not. There is no try.
So you either are or you're not. You're either out there grinding and your livelihood is dependent on what you're doing, or you're not. And that's pretty simple. And well, here's the other part, because then you transition, right? Some people, and I think this is where some of those transitions happen. You have entrepreneurs who develop a business whose business processes and systems run themselves, and they've put enough time and effort into it where they're no longer operating or managing or running day-to-day operations in their business. And in my mind, those people are no longer entrepreneurs. They've graduated to investor side, right? They're business owners or investors. And that's a different definition to me, because when you see the young entrepreneur, the beginning person, they look at those investors, they look at those people who've already been in the game for so long and created something so big, and they're trying to emulate that. They want to be that person right now. And I think that's where the shortcut that you talked about earlier, that's where the shortcuts happen, because they see that person who apparently was that overnight success, but they don't see that, they don't understand the work that goes into creating that. Can you kind of go into what it took to get you to the point where you're at 200 employees? Like something a little, more defined into those types of steps.
Beers and tears, bro. Beers and tears. Like on so many days. Beers and tears. Like, and that's no joke. What it took, man. Like, I mean, a lot of help and support. I certainly didn't do it myself. They say that it's super cliche. All you can do is all you can do. You got to accept that and try to get people around you that can do stuff. Like our COO he's worked with you. We're on our third company together. And, and I trust him, and I know that he's going to get shit done. Same with our sales director and other people. What it took, man, it took like wild, crazy vision, and like on many days, big balls. Like, and I just say that because, like, dude, like, okay, you say an entrepreneur. Now I do disagree with you a little bit, because I think investors are entrepreneurs too. I think anytime you're putting your money on the table and you're like clickety clack and roll the dice, I mean, there's some entrepreneurship there. And like, I mean, a lot of it, dude, I tell people, if you want to be an entrepreneur, you better get ready to go through a roller coaster ride, because there's times over this last couple of years where I would tell people, they're like, well, tell me about yourself. I am the brokest rich dude, like for real. Like, and it's because sometimes you're all in, and that's it. And then, I mean, it really does take some wild, crazy belief in yourself. And I have never, like, we're on a pace to have 1,000 employees in 2 more years. And, it's just like, man, and, talking about traveling around the world, I've been to the Philippines 9 times in the last 2 years. And that's a 40-hour trip from where I'm at. And, and it's just like, take some wild, crazy, like, get up and just don't care on some days. And, like brushing off the nose, like there's nothing gets me more excited and pumped than people telling me I can't do something.
Well, it's certainly more enjoyable than my average day.
True as well. So yeah, I mean, it really just it takes some like kind of like blind craziness. Like I've been asking people lately, like let me ask you guys a question. What's the difference between being a genius and being crazy?
Ooh, there's a fine line. In my opinion, there's a fine line there. I think the only difference is the result, the intended result. All right. So, cause both do some, well, let's just face it, both go out and venture into things that normally other people wouldn't. One goes with the intention of a predictable result, right? So they're actually trying to attain something. The other one's completely lost. They don't know which way is up or down, left or right, and they might stumble into something, they might not. But they're both a little ballsy, I guess we can say.
So what's the difference between a genius and
crazy? What's the difference between genius and crazy?
Why so serious?
That right there. That's someone who really, really travels that line. The difference between genius and crazy, I mean, for me, I think it comes down to that standard definition, right? Just doing the same thing over and over again. There's a lot of smart people that have a lot of really good ideas, and they keep trying the same idea over and over and over again, and it continues not to work. It's the one that tries it a different way, that's able to take a different perspective and a different route of attack, that becomes the genius, and the other one's just crazy because they keep thinking that the same thing is going to work, and it doesn't.
Yeah, and so I've been asking people that question for about 1.5 years, and one thing that I have realized is that it's an outside perspective. And so, like, and honestly, the best answer I had was from a rock star, and he said, "Who cares?" And I said, "Expand on that, man." And he goes, if you spend time thinking about what other people are defining you as, you have less, you're taking your eyes off of what you're trying to be a genius at. And I was like, whoa,
you can't handle the truth.
That's so
I couldn't at that moment. I was like, whoa, like I had to like literally, after that night, I just sat down and I was just like thinking about that forever, because he was right. But the key is like I said, some of the best answers for that are that it is an outside perception. It's like, and you can draw these, like, what's the difference between being obsessed and being driven? Because if you ask my wife, she'd say I'm obsessed with our business and everything that I do and all that. And honey, I'm driven. It's like, it's just.
That concept of perspective, though, that's a deep thing. Like I forgot where I heard it already, but I came across this perspective the other day where you hear people complaining about social media, right? Oh, I don't like, everything on my feed is so political. I don't agree with anything that I see on my stuff. Look at all these things. And then I heard the perspective the other day that, what you see on your social media feed is a reflection of who you are and what you think about, because the only reason why it's showing up on your feed is because you stop and look at it. So if you're looking at your feed, you're like, man, there's so much porn on my feed. Well, that's because that's what you're stopping to look at. Oh man, there's so much politics, because that's what you're stopping and looking at. Right? And I was telling James the other day, I'm scrolling through my feeds, and for whatever reason, Mike Tyson and Michael Jordan keep showing up on my video feeds, right? They're like, whatever's going on. And James goes, yeah, well, that makes sense. You always look at the greats. You're always looking at the GOATs.
Yep.
And that's what impresses you. And I'm like, I understand that, because I'll scroll down and not that I don't like Mike Tyson or anything, but I'll stop real quick and be like, ooh, did you knock that dude out? Like, just to watch the knockout, right? So those things are, having that perspective and understanding that could be a reflection of who you are. Now all of a sudden it changes the point of view of what you're arguing there, right? Now it's like, I don't want to make the point that all these politics are showing up, because it's going to show you exactly who I am. Or same thing with, whatever's going on in there. Perspective to me is almost everything. It's the only thing that I can actually control, is my perspective on a particular situation. So what do you think? You think perspective is given to you, or is it something that you actually have an innate control over?
Well, I think you have a control over your own reaction. But a lot of people will talk about, perception is reality. And then some people are like, no, that can't be the case. But here's the thing is, all right, so Hernan, if I think you're an asshole, in my world, you are.
Yeah.
And so that means that my perception
100%.
is a reality. And so and that's the weird thing about everyone's opinion. I once had someone bring this up. So they showed me a picture of a cow, and the cow was standing sideways, and said, is this cow spotted? And you want to just say, and you can only see one side of it, and it wasn't. It was just white. It was all white. And you want to say no, but the correct answer is, I don't know, because you haven't looked at the other side. You didn't crawl underneath it. You haven't opened its mouth. You're not on top of it. And so perception's a very interesting thing. And that's the same thing with the genius and crazy thing. And some of it's like, who cares? It's like, honestly, the best thing I did about 10 years ago is I quit giving a shit what people thought of me in that regard. Now I want people to, that doesn't make me a bad person. It doesn't mean that I'm going around and like doing mischievous bad stuff. I consider myself to be a remarkably high character person, but I quit caring about the chatter. And that's tough too, because you get it. You guys do a podcast, and so do I, and we do a lot of different stuff. And it's easy to get people's opinion on these things. And they're like, I'll give you an example. So our show's conversational like this, and some people have sent feedback. Shut up and let the guests talk. I'm like, fuck you! Like I've
told her on that once or twice.
I couldn't do this 5 days. Well, it's one thing to tell your co-hosts; it's another thing. But you get the point, and it's like, you have to feel good about it too. So some of that you got to just not care, because I think the thing I learned about people that are taking shots at you, they're never people that are on top of the mountain and have the ability to pull you up. They're always on the bottom looking up, and they're pissed off. And I had probably one. We had Yoda on here earlier, who's got a similar hairstyle to me, which I like. But probably one of the most Yoda-like comments was given to me a few years ago, and said, "Hey man, if you want, what's harder, trying to climb the mountain or asking those on top to pull you up?" And it was another like, there you go. You guys can insert a video there. Do we have a mind blown one or something like that? Like I don't know, but
a mind blown one, huh?
Or just
I know which one. The Terry Crews one.
Yes. Yeah, sure. Right.
That was like my favorite.
So do I need to pause and wait for that, or do I?
No.
Got it. Yeah.
We don't have it right this second, but it's coming. It's coming now.
But that was the thing. And so the thing is and I'm serious. Like if you're listening and you care, look at the people that are giving you shit and they're talking shit. They are usually the people that aren't doing what you want to do. So they're kind of pissed off that they're not. It's like, I don't know anybody that's on the top of their game that is spending any time trolling anyone or making comments. They're like, hey, fuck it. I don't care. I'm just do what I want to do, how I want to do it. Do your thing. Good luck. But they're not filled with commentary and BS. So I don't know.
I love that. So true, that's such a great line.
But and the reason why it's great and the reason why you agree is because it's absolutely true. Almost anybody who's in almost any field, right? So when you're talking the same thing, you're going to go on a diet or exercise, and you're like, oh, it's not going to work. You're not going to make it. Well, it's probably because the guy's a biggie and he's just sitting on the couch doing nothing anyways, right? You're going to take a risk in your business. Oh, that's never going to work. Well, you haven't even got off your ass to do something in the first place. Like you're absolutely right. And that's one of those things where, when I do care about what people think, right? I absolutely do. I just listen and I take in the information based on who's saying it, and then based on who's saying it and what position they're in, then I'll consider that advice. If you're broke and you're trying to give me advice about money, I'll listen, but it doesn't mean I'm going to take that really into huge consideration, because you're not showing me something that is of value at some point, right? So those things are are going to come when you put out your own opinion, right? When you have a podcast, you decide to put out your opinion. It's concrete. It's definitive into what you believe is the way of the world or whatever. And you're going to have people that disagree, and they're going to voice their opinion. You're literally giving them a platform to come on and say, you're wrong. And I don't know about you, but I invite that, right? I actually like
our whole show's about that. Our whole show's like, when we started our show because we wanted to complain about being entrepreneurs. And so here we are, and I've been successful. The other Matt's been successful. We said, what should our podcast be about? And we were both like, it shouldn't be about two middle-aged white guys from the suburbs that made a lot of money. No one wants to hear that fucking story. So so we were like, and I'm serious. Like, I mean, how endearing is that? It's not. And so we need to get on and tell the real truth, because people, they read an article or they see a Wikipedia page or they do something like that, and they're like, dude, this guy he's never wrong. He's the oracle. Oh my God, do you know how often I'm wrong? Like, all the time, dude. Like, I try 10 things because I hope one works.
60% of the time, it works every time.
Sex Panther is way more effective than most of my ideas, for sure. Like, and it smells better too. Like, I'll be honest. Like, and I think one of you guys is on our show on Monday. I got to get my soundbite game on, man. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like,
I mean, you know what? To be honest, the soundbite thing is like, literally, James and I have conversations all the time. I mean, he's literally my brother, so I've known him for the 37 years that he's been alive, and we tend to finish each other's sentences. Like, we drop movie quotes all the time. So we were like, you know what? If we do that in life, why don't you just throw it on the show and just throw them in there? Why not? Right now,
I think I'd have like way too much Ron Burgundy. I like to say that a lot. I've got a 12-person marketing team, and God bless them for putting up with me. But they'll put a set list out or do whatever. I'm like, guys, no, Ron Burgundy reads what's on the teleprompter. Do not get it wrong.
The FCC.
He's from your hometown, actually, right?
Yeah,
he's from San Diego, right?
San Diego.
Yep. That's right.
Yeah.
Stay classy.
That's the whale's vagina, right? Isn't that what Spanish. It's Spanish.
Matt, we're gonna Iron Man flag you now.
Shit! Language. Wait a second. No one else is gonna deal with the fact that Cap just said language. I know.
I was waiting to play that one.
I get it. I can't be on a San Diego podcast and not drop it. Like, I'll share this when it comes out with our listeners, and they would be mad at me if I didn't make at least. No, probably not.
Wait. So we're saying that's just the brand that San Diego's got now?
Yeah. Outside of San Diego, yeah. If I went in and told 10 people I was on a San Diego-based podcast, I guarantee 3 of them would make an Anchorman quote. Yeah.
Fine by me.
Yeah.
It works if it works.
Yeah. I don't think I should have been flagged for that, by the way. That was. Do I get a challenge? Can I?
That was that was.
Here, hang on. I'm throwing my challenge flag, guys. Like, yeah.
All right, man. I gotta ask you, man. Football season this weekend. We're supposed to have our fantasy football draft. And the only thing I'm skeptical about is if football's going to happen the way we're supposed to think. Are you a football fan? I know you got the Kansas City Royals out there, but you got Patrick Mahomes out there and reigning Super Bowl champions.
I mean, I'm planning on they better play football, because you don't come off of a season like they just had and not. Like, I don't know, man. It's I've been watching games against the Chargers for years. Boy, that move really worked out for them. I bet they missed San Diego. Like, come on, guys! There's more fans for the other team in that stadium every single game. It's pretty amazing. I sure hope they play football. And I have some friends that are associated with the Chiefs, and they feel pretty confident that they will. And I'm pretty excited. I mean, here's the thing. It's so that, I lived my whole life with the Royals being terrible. And then they won in 2015, which was just unbelievable. I'm a huge baseball fan. And then all of a sudden it was like, wow, maybe the Chiefs aren't so good. What's up with that? Because they hadn't won a Super Bowl since Super Bowl I. And so seeing that occur, that was awesome. And then, so we have a suite at the local concert venue. And Post Malone was in town the day the Chiefs had the parade, and Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce had their own area in the back. And let's put it this way: those dudes can drink some beer, so they deserve that ring. Like they were not holding back at that Post Malone show. It was pretty crazy. But yeah, that was fun, and I really hope they play football.
Yeah, I hope so too. And you're right. The Charger move was horrible for them. Whatever, no big deal. However, I was looking at whether fans were going to be admitted into stadiums, right? And so they were going through the NFL had a list of all the teams and what their agendas were, which teams were letting how many fans in or whatnot.
14% here.
14% there, right?
Which is like 12,000.
Yeah.
Something in an 80,000 seat stadium. It's maybe more than that. I don't know.
Wow.
Well, and then that's it got me thinking about the Chargers. So I'm scrolling down. I was thinking, they should just say, yes, we're letting unlimited amount of fans come into the Chargers.
if anyone looked better from the limited capacity rule, it was definitely the Chargers in their new home. Yeah. Yeah. They're like, hey, what sweet. We only got. But you somehow got every single fan that was at the last Chargers game on that last video. All 5 of them were there, man. That was great. Yeah.
There it is. There it is.
All right, we're gonna end on that note. Matt, that was great, man. I had fun with you today. Thank you for coming on the show. Go Kansas City. I'm still a Charger fan, brokenhearted Charger fan, but we're still here. And just like you said, I'm not going to show up to the stadium. I wouldn't go anyways.
But actually, but before you do sign off here, can you, for our listening audience, give them a shout out, let them know where they can find you, find more information.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to sing that San Diego Superchargers song. Yeah. San Diego Superchargers. Isn't that how it goes?
San Diego Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, wow.
I know. Good times.
Yeah, you can find me. You can check out the Startup Hustle podcast. Go to fullscale.io. You can find my books on Amazon if you just search Matt DeCoursey. I'm all over. Although I have notes, update internet. And I'll
3
get
books,
after that.
Not
but
2.
Yeah, I'm easy to find. There's not a whole lot of Matt DeCourseys out there, so yeah, pretty easy to look up.
Just look up the 2 Matts and the 2 Jills. We'll find it.
Yeah.
There it is.
All right, man. Well, thanks again for coming on the show, ladies and gents. Enjoy the rest of your SHIT. So happy it's Thursday. Peace.
Bye-bye.
And we're out.
Thank you for listening to the Business Bros Podcast. Are you looking to get more clients or to increase your income? Hernan, the business bro, can help you generate referrals through the power of podcasting. And James, the insurance bro with Pipeline Insurance, can help you effectively add insurance to your existing business. If you are ready to create wealth today and generational wealth for tomorrow, email businessbros@csfirst.com to schedule a free consultation. Or join the Business Bros Network, www.businessbros.biz.